it's very hard to ignore the drug epidemic. It's hard to ignore the crime stats. It's hard to ignore homelessness on the rise. It's hard to ignore prices when you go to the grocery store. It's hard to ignore those things. And they have this cost sunk fallacy. But the thing is that not all of them, they're actually like, donating to the party and volunteering this, but they're still like, they have like a death grip on these ideologies. And that's what's puzzling to me, that they're still holding on for dear life despite being educated, despite having, because that's the thing, they have good hearts, they're smart, and I know they want the best for people. That's why it's very confusing to me, because I'm like, you've bought into it publicly, like people know where your politics lie, but I mean, most of them, they're not actually volunteering or spending thousands of dollars, like giving it to the party. So it's,
Well, yeah, it can be difficult to get through to some of these people. I appreciate that because I both of us will try from time to time
yeah,
to explain things to some people, and
right,
sometimes you're successful.
right,
Like I told you the other day, one of my friends I was talking to who's a liberal.
hmm,
We were having lunch, and
right.
I talked about immigration many times, and how the prevalence of foreign workers was having a detrimental effect on young people and the elderly, like basically retirees who weren't wealthy, who needed to supplement their income,
Yet who have been working their whole
who've
lives
been
too.
working in their whole lives in this country. And he really thought I was just kind of exaggerating the problem and basically making much ado about nothing
Because
because
will
it didn't affect him personally.
because he's very wealthy.
Yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with being wealthy. That's great. You work hard and you do good things. I mean,
but
opportunities will come your way.
yeah, but
But
but the only point about making a point that he's wealthy is simply that
he is
it
privileged.
makes him removed
Right, removed.
from some of
Exactly.
the day-to-day
Right.
problems that are affecting other people, because once you're in that kind of
That
status,
class.
yeah, you're in your day-to-day, you either deal with people who are relatively well-to-do or other wealthy people,
Right.
and you're somewhat removed and isolated from those kind of problems. And I suppose to our misfortune, we are not so isolated and removed from the problems affecting everyday Canadians, that we have that problem.
I
But
don't think I would
but
ever want to be, even if we won the lottery. I don't
no,
think I could
no,
ever ignore people like that.
no, you don't want to be out of touch.
No, I can't.
I'm just saying, the simple fact of the matter is that a lot of rich people are out
Yeah.
of touch because they go to the grocery store, and the fact that the groceries that 10 years ago cost you $100 now cost you, I don't know, 100.
500,
Well,
400.
not 400,
Oh, yeah.
but you go to the grocery store like 10 years ago, and you would buy a basket of groceries, fill up a couple of bags,
Sure.
fill up your trunk or whatever. It costs you $100.
Okay.
And now it's easily, you do that at 200.
Way more
And
than
whether
that.
that's over the last 10 or 15 years or what have you, but over the last 10 years or so, the inflation has made the cost of living just immensely more expensive. And we would expect the cost over time at a regular rate of inflation to go up a little bit. Like what 10 years ago cost you $100 should cost you 120.
But
But
everything
it,
else should follow suit.
yeah, but it shouldn't cost you 200.
Right.
But if you're very rich, you don't feel that.
No, you
I
don't
mean,
feel it.
my friend doesn't feel that. Mark
No.
Carney sure as hell doesn't feel that.
No.
So the people in those situations don't really understand. But the point I'm making is he he saw we were having lunch, and he saw this old man, a man old enough to be my father, who looked
Yeah.
like he was in his mid to late 60s. He was applying for a job at the restaurant we were looking at, and he looked over at this guy who's looking for work to try and supplement, his retirement, what should be his retirement. He was an older man,
Yeah.
and this guy is coming to a restaurant looking for work, and suddenly, it's the penny drops.
Right. It
Like
clicked.
suddenly, why Chris says it's bad that we have these foreign workers taking away jobs from senior citizens, why they're taking away jobs from young people, kind of dawns on him. Like, here is a human being. Here is an older man who should be comfortable in his retirement,
Right.
who feels evidently the pinch of how things cost at this point in time, saying that I need more money. I need to work. I'm old, but I can't afford to live if I don't work.
Right.
So he's there looking for work. And being confronted with that with your own eyes can make a difference, which is why I say when we talk to some of these people, we have to try and get them to acknowledge the problem so they can see that the way we're doing things doesn't work.